Namaskar, viewers. This is Vandana Jhingan, your host for Global Governance News. As in the series of talking to the first hand victims, second hand victims, and the third hand victims, first generation, second generation, and third generation, in the series of what all happened in Bharat from late 80s to early 90s. And I was the first one. I said, no, this is not, this cannot be Exodus. This has to be genocide because, and these people, they became refugees within their own nation. I am honored to be an immigrant because I opted for it. I came on my own will. But these are the people, those who were asked to leave on the gunpoint, and many of them, they have lost their family members and stuff, so they were forced to leave. That is what the biggest tragedy has been so far, and nobody has talked about it because there has been always a narrative that has been set, like who the victims are, because but they always say bhagwan ke ghar der hai andher nahi hai. And a beginning happened right in the United States of America, on the soil that we are in, our karam bhumi, where Vivek Agnihotri and Ranjan Agnihotri, Vivek Agnihotri and Pallavi Joshi came for their means previous release, and then they met a lot of Kashmiri Hindus, and there was a talk. Imagine, like nobody in the film industry, Bollywood, they have talked about this subject, was felt close to. Vivek was not even like there at that very time when the Bollywood has made millions and billions by shooting in Kashmir, because everybody wanted to have their films shot in Kashmir. We do remember Kya Kashmir Hai Ya Wadiyan. Like, just imagine, there was no film which was complete without either one song or the movie, like some scenes from Kashmir. So, talking from various different people, we have talked to uh, people, like, what has been their story. So it is because the administration failed them. Like, it is the complete failure because there is no record, because nobody was willing to write an FIR for them. So that, when we talk about it, so I really want, because government of India, to take up 370 abrogation is the first step, and after that they need to have an inquiry where things can win. So with me today evening, we are going to talk to Swapna Raina ji. She is a Kashmiri Hindu activist living out of Washington DC area, and she's been pretty active. She migrated to United States of America in 1993, as she told me, and she's a banker by profession. And when we talk, like, so she went to study outside Kashmir in 1988, and 1989, her Nanaji, Justice Neelkant Kanju, whose story, because out of that 500,000 plus people, you could not have all the people's story in there, but his has been taken up there. So very tragic. And after coming here, and so I thought, first of all, Swapnaji, thank you so very much for your precious time to share this with us. And I will make sure at least this has been archived and you have the copy of this. So when we need it, so there is somebody to show it, this has happened. And this is not a fake narrative. This is what really has happened. Good evening, ma'am. Welcome to our
Thank
channel.
you.
Yes. So let's hear from Swapna what exactly has happened at that very time.
Namaste, Vanna ji. Thank you so much, and thank you to your channel for giving us an opportunity to speak about, what has happened to us, where we are, and what we hope to happen in the future. So, as you in my introduction, as you said that I did come to US in 1993, and I have lived through the eerie times in Kashmir when the bubble was about to burst there, and that precipitated 19th of January 1990 that we all know about. I'm a proud granddaughter of Justice Neelkan Ganju. He was the second targeted killing in Kashmir because of the sentence that he had passed Maqbul Butt, JKLF leader, co-founder, had actually, he was convicted in the murder of a constable, and my grandfather did sentence him to death. I've spoken about it so many times; it's still overwhelming. I always I've been asked that, why do you talk about it? What is in it for you? But every time we all talk about it, it brings with it lots of pain, lots of memories, but with the hope that no more will we be questioned that did something like this actually happen in Kashmir. There's a lot of misinformation and false narratives out there telling us, and telling the world that Kashmiri Pandits, Kashmiri Hindus left on their own will, or Jagmohan, was the one who instigated that. With us speaking about it, what actually happened to us, we just want to be at a point where nobody's questioning, what happened to us in the past. I personally lived through those times. There were some, we had beautiful memories. When I think about Kashmir, I have beautiful memories with my family, with my, just going to school, small things giving us immense pleasure, going on vacation, just spending time with cousins and all. But then we start thinking about our homes, and all of a sudden that gloom is all over us. We think about what happened to us. Where are we? We have no home. I long to take my kids back home and show them where we lived. It's very tough for us. We don't have a home to go back to, really. No matter what you do, if there's a plant, it's growing in a certain place, you uproot it. It's still looking for that apni zameen doonta hai, looking for its root to prosper, to flourish, to be happy, to bloom. So that is always there with us, and we talk about it a lot. It's just it's very unfortunate that we were called so-called refugees, but we are really not refugees. Refugees, is we are, and they say that you migrated. Did we really migrate? Is it a natural occurring, that we migrated from one place to other, questioning even our existence? Vannaji, that is very painful. A lot of people don't even know that there's something like Kashmiri Pandits. There has been questioned, like, what is Kashmiri Pandits? So um, I don't know. Probably I'm going round and round, but you must have guessed that this topic just hits the nerve, and it's very painful for me. I just start going in that vicious circle, thinking about why this happened, why were we targeted because of our faith, because of our belief. Um, my grandfather was killed. He martyred, cold-blooded, in broad daylight, because of his faith, because of what he did, because he was part of the legal system, and he stood tall and he stood true to it. At what judgment he had passed, and he was asked to revoke that, and he said, "I'm not going to do that." So he'd paid a price to do that. All these incidents, Tiklal Tapluji, the first person who was martyred in Kashmir on 14th of September 1989, and then my grandfather, Justice Neelkant Ganju, it was a very thought out process by the jihadis. It was like you pick and select prominent people, members of the community. It was kill one and scare 1,000. That was their goal to start with. It was something was brewing in the back. We could hear the murmurs, we could feel it, but it all of a sudden precipitated with, and 19th of January 1990, the slogans "Relive, Live, Galiv," ऐसे क्या कैसे निज़ाम मुस्तफ़ा यहाँ क्या चलेगा अल्लाह अकबर, ऐसे कैसे कशीर Bataurosti Batnevsan, translating for people who don't understand Kashmiri, but probably thanks to the Kashmir Files, a lot of you people may already know what that means, because it has been shown in the movie. It essentially says that we want Kashmir, but we want it without the Kashmiri Hindus, Kashmiri Pandit men folk, but with the women. They had already kind of figured out, like, she's mine. And it was very scary living there in those times, Vannaji. I i just hope and pray that people understand what we have gone through. It's that, and even after all of that, there's still all this talk about it's not true, it didn't happen, it was just a couple of incidents that happened. But reality is something totally different. The facts are different, and it's coming out now.
Um, Swapna, really heartfelt what you shared. And you're living with this from last 32 plus years. How old were you at that very time? Like, because you went to school to study in Delhi, because the trouble already started, that was the reason, or like you wanted to have further studies in the bigger cities?
So a combination of both, Vannaji, right? So I graduated. I did my it's called being an undergrad here. So I graduated from Kashmir University. And then there was already that murmur, we knew things were not looking right. And my parents, both parents were doctors. My dad is retired now. My mom has since passed. They had their own hospital. So we lived in one of the uh, very hotspots of terrorism, district Pulwama. So mom and dad could feel it. They saw it more than we did, because we used to live on and off for our higher classes. We used to live in Srinagar so that we could pursue our studies. And Kashmiri Hindus, Pandits were like very strong believers that education is the pillar that is going to make your future. No matter what it happens, all the kids were supposed to be like, it used to be, Kashmiri Hindus, Pandits used to be made fun of, that all that they do is studies. And we as kids probably at that time got irritated with our parents. What is this about studies all the time? What is this about? It's okay, you'll do something. But now we are very thankful that they really, really held their ground and made sure, in the extreme circumstances, what happened to us once we were forced to leave, flee our homes, leaving behind everything. I have heard stories, including my own parents. They left with a briefcase, and that briefcase had the certificates of my brothers, educational certificates, mine, theirs, just saying that कुछ भी नहीं होगा तो कम से कम अपनी पढ़ाई, विद्या हमारे पास, उसका धन हमारे पास है, we can rebuild ourselves, and we can try to resettle. Yeah. And then my parents could foresee. I completed my graduation, and then I came to Delhi to pursue my further studies in business management. And business management was not something that was offered. We didn't have good schools for business management in Kashmir. So that's why I left. That was the reason that I left, but rest of the family was still in Kashmir, and we're forced to flee because of the terrorism in there.
As at that very time, we didn't have social media. At that very time, we didn't have very good telephone lines and stuff like that. And this happened. A relationship I do recall with my Nana and Doti, like, it is so close. Like, the moments when I'm talking to, I'm still remembering my grandfather who's not there, because she has been spoiled a lot by Nana in the Dada, that. And
Yeah,
this used to
yeah.
be a fight between my brother. आप उसको ज्यादा प्यार करते हैं क्यों? वो बोलते नहीं, बेटी है ना, चली जाएगी तो इसलिए प्यार करते हैं. And the same thing, I can see the pain in your eyes. You're bonding with your Nana ji at that very time, no matter, like even if he is the Chief Justice of Supreme Court of India, or even if he's the Prime Minister, because that is that you had a personal bonding with him. He being your Nana, it is not the relationship that he's been the justice, like, so that, would you please share your memories with him of the childhood?
Oh my God, where do I start, Vannaji? Where do I start? I have the best memories with my Nanaji. The bestest memories. Maybe that's not even a word, but I really do. Even back then in 1980s, my Nanaji was like all for girl education, all for our independence. He's the person who taught me how to play cards. So, and everybody's like, क्या लड़की इसको ताश क्यों सीखना है? So I learned to play sweep because my nana ji taught me. What do you mean लड़की है? You cannot do that. Yeah, what was that for expression for Vandana ji?
Because my dadi taught me sweep. My
Maybe
dadi
that
ma.
was something the in thing that time, with that
Because
generation.
yeah, we just, because my father is 95 and he has dementia, so we just sometimes often play with him, and he can do anything, but because those things, and you can never win from my father, so it's used to ask like, who taught you? So my dadi ma taught us sweep, actually. So when you
Yeah,
just said that, my mouth opened, because that was at that particular generation, that
yeah,
because sweep was not gambling, it was the
no.
game of the means the mind.
Exactly. Sharpen your gray cells up here, get them to use. And with my Nanaji, you know, I went to the theater with him. He took us to watch movies. So I'm picking some of these. Um, Back then, you would not imagine, like, एक लड़की को movie देखने लेके जा रहे हैं, ताश खिला रहे हैं. But my Nana ji used to do all of that, and oh my God, what a wonderful person and what lovely memories. And he made us so strong, Vannaji. He made all his grandkids so strong. Some of his very famous, responses to us always used to be, so if we had to go somewhere, so he had to wait for us, near the main gate, darwaze ke paas. So he used to say, are you come where are you? And we would say, we are coming. He's like, yeah, ek karvat, like, you cannot really translate it, but it's like, you're not here, where are you? And then I would say, daddy ji, I don't want to go out. It's like, why? Because it's raining, right? He's like, so what, are you a bag of salt you're going to dissolve? They used to make those funny comments. And then if we were walking and I had to jump over a puddle or something, like, why don't you jump? Why are you worried? Oh, no, 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 I don't want to jump. It's like, what are you, a bag of rice that you'll spill all over and we can't put you back together? So, and kids these days may think that's child abuse or something. When we used to sit in a room, हम टेक लगाते नहीं थे दीवार के साथ. It was like, you have to, your back has to be really strong and you have to sit upright. How you carry yourself, your posture is going to speak volumes for you. So when you're talking about memories, those are the memories. I mean, I traveled to different places in India with my nana ji and nani ji, and I was a little more independent kid, and I was their oldest child's their granddaughter. So I traveled with them to different places. I have lovely memories. Some of them are very simple joys that we had, just riding the bus to Jammu, and how they used to pamper me. um, used to go shop any new fabric that would come in the market, he would buy that for us. And the best thing from my nana ji is, like, he made us all very strong. He made us, you know human beings that to follow principle. And they, at a young age also, he's like, you got to be independent, you got to know how to do A, B, C, and Z. So those are my memories with my nanaji, traveling with him, learning things from him, learning how you can be a true hard worker. He was a justice, right? So no matter what at least it seemed to me at that age, no matter what time of the day I would see, he would be sitting in his, other than when he was eating, when we were having our khana, lunch or dinner together, sitting, the whole family. Every time I always saw him in his office working, or, you know, yeah, dictating to those days. It used to be, they used to have a steno, right? So they used to type shorthand if they had a case coming. So I have all those memories. Beautiful book racks with the volumes and volumes of law books, the leather bound with golden alphabets. um, all of those very beautiful memories. But that is what I try to get my strength from, because unfortunately, like you said earlier, excuse me, Vandaji, that there was no, we didn't have cameras, there was no social media, right? It was not so readily available. So unfortunately, I don't have many good pictures. I hardly have any pictures of my Nanaji. But I feel these days everybody is so much more fortunate. They can just play a video, watch a picture, and just relive those wonderful times. I don't. And unfortunately, you try to Google his name, and you will see him on the ground when he was shot dead. So you did ask earlier, what do I do and why? And I mentioned that I've been very active because I just want to erase that memory. I want everybody to remember him for the person he was, right? And not a victim who fell, to senseless killing of terrorism. Not that way. And yeah, I can go on, and I want people who did that and who have confessed that, to killing my
On a
grandfather in a
public network and
on a
on the
yeah
television,
BBC
like
Hot
live.
Talk.
Yeah, can you believe it? And they've been enjoying in the prime minister office and the home minister having lunches and dinners with them. How did it feel to means like I can imagine how did it feel to me, and I can see how it is for you. Just imagine. And your nanima, like your mom, your dad, like they always say, but Swapna, आई मीन पीपल डू से बात कहने की है, बट लेकिन अगर हम बात कहेंगे नहीं हैं तो लोगों को कैसे मालूम चलेगा? बिकॉज आज के युग में आप लेट्स टॉक अबाउट होलोकॉस्ट की बात करते हैं, दे आर स्टिल टॉकिंग अबाउट इट बिकॉज 32 साल 32 years is not a small means we have lost generation. And then some of them they are not even able to talk because they have some problems, let this be Alzheimer, dementia, we know. So these are not even listed anywhere. Some people, like, they talk about, I was listening to someone, she said, I don't even know where my cousin is because like there is no closure to that. So means this is like you very well, I can means like a, just because I was born in New Delhi, so I have seen when our neighbors, someone came near Connaught Place, Super Bazaar, INA Market, leaving. I mean, like, even if you migrate knowingly, it becomes so difficult. Like, क्या लेके जाएं? हम लोग आए 2 सूटकेस लेकर के, but we came with our own will. So we build it.
And couple of things. We didn't leave on our own will, and we
Yeah.
left with the worst possible memories. We left scared. People left in the middle of the night. People left not knowing if they're going to make it to the next, to Jammu or across the Banhal tunnel. It was so scary. And the worst part of all of this was it was your people who you thought were your own, you know, because I remember when all of this started happening again, and we knew that my Nanaji is back on the list and stuff. And we used to tell him, Daddy ji, no, you cannot. And we were in denial. We couldn't believe. And he used to say, no, 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 no. Ye sab chalta hai. Mere ko kuch nahi hoga. Nothing's going to happen to me because, they're our own. I have held them all the time, and everybody used to come to him for legal advice. But then when the quite a few times we saw when like grenades were thrown on my nanny hall and stones were pelted and at my parents and at us, we recognized people in the crowd doing that. And
Knew,
so
whom we knew, like
who we knew,
that's
I have my friends from school and college. And you know Vannaji, I am so glad. I have been talking about it forever now. I've spoken at it every given opportunity that I get, every platform that I get. But majority of us have not talked because it's very painful. It's that trauma that everybody has had within them. Our focus was different, right? We were trying to reestablish ourselves. We had no clue. Some of us were in denial. Some of us didn't have anything. Some of our own community members didn't know where the next meal is going to come from. My story is just one story of hundreds and thousands of stories. you know let's talk about so many other stories. I have friends, we have never talked about it. That's another thing. So there never has been a healing process for us. Rather, every time we have tried to speak about it in the past, we have been questioned that this has not happened. And when you get that kind of a response, when you're questioned every time, you kind of start going back into your own cocoon,
yeah.
right? You're like, यार बात करने का तो कुछ फायदा है नहीं, उल्टा इससे और भी दुख होता है, right? So let's not talk about it. So I I'm so grateful for Vivek ji and Pallavi ji. You mentioned their name for the Kashmir Files. This movie is a means of catharsis for my community. You must have seen internet, all social media. There are so many videos out there. Never have I seen anybody from my community expressing themselves openly. You must have seen every time I see these videos, what this movie has done to them. It has kind of provided some kind of a relief to us, some kind of assurance to us. Every tear that is shed is working as a balm for us. It's a we have watched in movies and we have heard about it. If somebody goes into a shock, right, for whatever reason, they lose a loved one or something happens to them, something drastic, वो कहते थे ना, अगर रोएंगे नहीं, आंसू नहीं निकलेंगे तो वो अंदर ही नासूर बन जाएगा, right? वो गम अंदर अंदर नासूर बन जाएगा and you won't realize. And that is what we were all doing. We were carrying that with us.
और
We
आंसू
were
अगर देते हैं, रोते हैं, तो ही माँ भी दूध देती है बच्चे को। वो आंसू आने बहुत ज़रूरी हैं। वो आंसू जो आपने कहा कि हम उसको नासूर ना बनने दें, आंसू को बहने दें, ताकि लोगों को मालूम चले कि ये कोई कहानी नहीं है, ये एक हकीकत है। ये गुज़री है लोगों के साथ में, और आपके हमारे अपने ही लोगों ने हमको मारा है। सबसे बड़ी दुःख की बात जो ये है,
मैं वही
ये दिस इज लाइक कि हम किस पे कब विश्वास करें। अभी भी जैसे लोकसभा में मैंने देखा किस तरह से लोगों ने बात किया, उन्होंने कहा कि अब इसको जो आप ला रहे हैं, तो भले देर से आया, दे ऑलवेज से देर
दुरुस्त
आए दुरुस्त आए, सबसे बड़ी बात है। तो मैं तो इस बात से बिल्कुल भी सहमत नहीं हूं। आई विल नेवर एग्री टू इट। वाई दिस इज लाइक मीन्स, और हर चीज का एक समय होता है, क्योंकि जब आपको इतनी गहरी चोट लगती है, विच इज लाइक अ ट्रॉमा, लाइक देयर हैज बीन so much of trauma after the bullying, like mental torture, I can say that. To come out of that also takes a time, because we know that I have been handling, I talk to a lot of like mental health facilities and stuff like that. They don't put pressure on you. First is the healing, like and it's still not means like this can never, I mean, Swapna ji, I am being really watching, I've been talking to your people from almost 2.5 decades wherever I get an opportunity. And so sorry to say, those who say that, means how could that, गलती किया है जिसने किया, अगर आपने नहीं किया, आपके पूर्वजों ने किया, तो कम से कम आप में इतनी हिम्मत होनी चाहिए आज के युग में कि आप जाके पब्लिकली इस चीज को माफी मांगे कि हाँ, आई वॉज नॉट देयर, लाइक है कि बट लेकिन दिस हैज हैपन टू यू, आई बिकॉज, और वहां तो जले के ऊपर नमक अभी भी छिड़का जा रहा है, तो दैट इज वेरी पेनफुल, लाइक, बट आई थिंक नॉट एनी मोर।
एग्जैक्टली, आप देखिए ना, अभी भी आप कई बार कई जगह से ये सुनने को आएगा कि ठीक है, लेट्स नॉट, दिस मूवी इज गोना क्रिएट एक्स वाई एंड जी। बट आप मेरे को बताइए, इस मूवी में इस्लामोफोबिक कुछ भी नहीं है, प्रोपेगेंडा कुछ नहीं है। दीज आर ट्रू स्टोरीज and everything is documented. Vivek ji and Pallavi ji met 700 plus people. There's 4 plus years of research in there. So कुछ लोगों का ये भी है, बोलने वाले तो बोलते हैं, कहते हैं कि अच्छा 32 साल में तो कुछ बोला नहीं आपने, तो ऑल ऑफ अ सडन ये क्या, ऐसा क्या हुआ कि एवरीबडी इज स्पीकिंग ऑल ऑफ अ सडन टू विवेक जी एंड पल्लवी जी? These are all false narratives. You're just creating these stories. So my answer to them is the reason. Probably you may have this question in your mind too, Vandana ji. Why all of a sudden in 32 years everybody is talking to Vivek ji and
आप
Pallavi
जो
ji?
सवाल की बात कर रहे हैं, मैं उसका जवाब पहले ही दे चुकी हूँ। क्योंकि जो मेंटल हेल्थ इंस्टीट्यूट्स होते हैं, आप, मैंने खुद बोला ये बात, वो भी बोलते हैं कि हमको उससे पूछने की जरूरत नहीं है, पहले उसको थोड़ा हील होने दो, फिर उससे बात पूछिए। आप ये
So
सोचिए, जब आपको इतना बड़ा गहरा जख्म है, नासूर बना हुआ है, तो आप उसको धीरे धीरे ही वो हील होगा, ऐसे तो नहीं हो सकता ना, अदरवाइज। सो मैं तो ये सवाल पूछने की हिम्मत
मैं
भी नहीं कर
इसमें
सकती हूँ।
इसमें ये बहुत जरूरी है, ये इसलिए मैंने मेंशन भी किया वंदना जी, कि मैं बोलना चाहती हूँ आपको, अगर आपके सवाल पूछे भी नहीं, बट आई नो कि ये सवाल बाहर बहुत बारी आया है हमारे आगे। बट इसका जवाब एक ही बहुत सिंपल सा जवाब मेरा इन सब लोगों के लिए है जो ये सवाल पूछते हैं हमसे, क्योंकि विवेक जी और पल्लवी जी उन्होंने हमसे कोई सवाल नहीं किया। जब वो आए, वो हमसे मिलने आए, दे डिडंट क्वेश्चन अस। उन्होंने हमसे ये नहीं सवाल किया कि अच्छा भाई क्या हुआ, क्यों आप ऐसे क्यों कह रहे, और वो हमें हमसे हमारे ही कंफर्ट जोन में मिलने आए। देयर वर टाइम्स व्हेन वी टोल्ड देम कि दिस इज सो एग्जॉस्टिंग फॉर यू, यू नो द डिस्टेंसेस इवन इन यूएस, इतनी दूर दूर तक जाना है, लेट्स पिक अप a central point, we'll come and meet you. और उनका जवाब था नहीं, we want to meet you, we want to come and meet you, and we want to meet you in your own place. And when they came, I can speak for myself because I was one of the 700 interviews. हमारे घर आए, मैं वो किसी के साथ एकदम कनेक्शन सा होता है ना, यू कुड नॉट टेल दैट वी आर मीटिंग फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम, तो चाय वाय पी और बैठेगा नहीं, आप आराम से, मैंने कहा, एंड यू नो आई वाज नर्वस कि क्या पूछेंगे, बिकॉज वी हैव दैट्स व्हाट वी हैव सीन ऑल अलोंग। तो इतने कामली, नहीं आप आराम से, यू नो व्हेनेवर यू आर रेडी वी कैन, सवाल क्या करने हैं इसमें, सो आई एम लाइक बट दैट्स व्हाई यू आर हियर, यू वांट टू कैप्चर यू नो द आंसर्स ऑन अ वीडियो। तो कहते हैं नहीं, whenever you are ready we'll just talk, you just tell us what you have to say. And we just sat across our chairs, and Pallavi ji sat there and Vivek ji sat there, and जैसे दो casual friends बैठ के, दो you know relatives close बैठ के बात करते हैं. And it was like that bubble was waiting, that balloon was waiting to get that prick. And I don't know, मैंने आधा बोल बात की है, आधा रोया है. It was like कि कोई अपना आके कह रहा है कि just they're giving us a shoulder to put our head on. Just tell us whatever you want to say. No, you know, no questions, no compulsions. आपको बोलना है आप बोलिए, नहीं बोलना है नहीं बोलिए. And every time, everybody who met them had the same feeling, same reaction. Now, can you imagine? I'm one person. I have one or two stories, right? They met so many people. They they went through that emotional trauma so many times. I i don't know how could they do it. You know, कहते हैं ना कि physical exhaustion is something, but mental exhaustion just drains you. So I don't know how they did it, but definitely this movie was long overdue. They were God sent for us, and you are seeing the results. This is one movie that is just all over. People want to know. Even at my work here in US, we've been talking about it. I had my colleagues come, and everybody's asking the same question. My very close friends who I have been with for last 28 years, Ruby, she came to the movie, and after that she gave me a hug. She didn't say anything for 10 minutes, and then she said, Swapna, आज तक कुछ बोला नहीं तुमने. मैंने कहा क्या बोलते. एंड शी हैज पेन्ड अ ब्यूटिफुल पोम कि ये प्रश्न प्रश्न पे उसने ये लिखा था, एक कविता, मे बी आई विल सेंड इट टू यू, इतनी खूबसूरती से कि हम लोग बस कुछ समझ नहीं आया कि क्या हो रहा है, और हम बस अपने बच्चों के फ्यूचर उनको शील्ड करते रहे. दिस मूवी हैज डन सो मच फॉर
तुम्हारे
मी.
अंदर के दर्द को तुम्हारे साथ रहते हुए भी हम समझ नहीं पाए, ये मतलब देखिए,
बिल्कुल,
बिकॉज दैट्स व्हाट इट इज.
क्योंकि हमने बहुत खूबसूरती से उसके ऊपर वो रखा था कि हम नहीं किसी से बोलेंगे. आई मीन my kids appreciate now. They know. They ask questions. My daughter, she traveled an hour and a half to watch the movie, and my son has already gone 3 times to watch the movie, because every time he goes he takes his friends, American and non-Indian, non-Kashmiris, with them, saying, Mom, people need to know. Why didn't you tell? Why haven't we known the depth, the gravity of the situation? So this movie is, I don't know.
I think Pallavi and Vivek has been chosen for this noble cause because they're always say na. So when we are going and watching the Holocaust movie, and we just been seeing from last 2 weeks or plus, like, what's happening Ukraine, what's happening Russia, on that side of it, you just see one child, he's been separated from his family, the image of it has been glorified like everywhere, like he's been crying this and that. और हमारे अपने ही घर में इतना बड़ा कुछ हो गया और हम उस दर्द को समझ ही नहीं पाए. And when I talk to the people from, because in this field of media, I've spoken to people from all over, like, the Indian Americans, let me be from South India, and they are all like 75 plus and stuff. Nobody had a clue about it. Like, so
आपने मूवी देखी है ना वंदना जी?
मैंने तो प्री रिलीज में 2 बार देख चुकी हूँ. Once I
अच्छा,
took
तो
my
उसमें
cousin.
तो बिल्कुल 100 क्या, मैं तो वहाँ यहाँ जब प्री रिलीज हुई उसमें बोला इट्स 1000% ट्रू. मीडिया, नोबडी, एवरीबडी वाज.
मैंने सबसे पहले यही कहा जब भी मैं तभी आई विल आस्क बिकॉज मैंने आई कुड नॉट कंट्रोल माई सेल्फ लाइक हमारे लिए भी क्योंकि जैसे आपने कहा है वी आर लाइक day in day out we are in this field like listen so Vivek and Pallavi it took them more than 5 to 7 minutes both consoling me like in the theater because I knew I have interviewed him before also on a various different subjects of his and then he said like मैंने कहा फिर मैं बाहर जब निकली क्योंकि वंदना जी को लोग बहुत डिफरेंट तरीके से देखते हैं फिर मैं सिर्फ इतना ही कह पाई मैं भी तो इंसान हूँ मीन्स पर अफसोस इस बात का है कि मैं इतनी छोटी थी कि मेरे हाथ में उस वक्त माइक्रोफोन नहीं था अदरवाइज आई वुड नॉट हैव आई एम बीइंग लाइक क्योंकि दिस इज कॉल्ड लाइक माई फ्रेटर्निटी फेल्ड यू पीपल धर्म कहीं ना कहीं अन्याय हुआ सो उसके लिए हम भी तो जिम्मेदार हैं बिकॉज दे ऑलवेज से वॉट एवर यू do with your due diligence like and that was the only reason when I started talking to after this film like क्योंकि मैंने बोला मैं तो बहुत सालों से आपके साथ बात कर रही हूँ it's not like means let this be 19th of January even if it has been 5 people it has been 10 people you will see me I'm going there freezing cold but I will be there no because इसका कारण है क्योंकि I have to go and answer myself when I go because everybody whosoever has come has to leave his life like जाना ही है इस दुनिया से मैं ऊपर जाके क्या जवाब दूंगी जब तुमको था तो तुमने कुछ भी नहीं किया तो अभी सो हम जो कर सकते हैं हमारा धर्म अगर हम ईमानदारी से करें तो वी शुड डू दैट स्वप्ना जी समाप्ति की ओर चलते हुए आई मीन समय को तो वापस नहीं ला सकते वी ऑल नो दैट हैं और जो ये घाव हैं ये जीवन भर में भर नहीं सकते लाइक कोई दुनिया की ताकत इसको नहीं भर सकती है कोई भी आप आपको वहां महल भी कोई बना के दे दे इस वक्त सोने का आई एम जस्ट सेइंग विद ऑल दीज ग्लिटर्स इन देयर द डायमंड स्टडेड बट जो खोया है उसको कोई वापस नहीं कर सकता बट मैं आपसे जानना चाहती हूँ मूवी शुरू हुई इतना सारा हिपोक्रेसी बट लेकिन इस फिल्म ने काफी कुछ किया है मीन्स लाइक हम तो सुशांत सिंह राजपूत के टाइम से देख ही रहे हैं कि किस तरह से बॉलीवुड का सारा सब नंगे हो रहे हैं कितने कितना मतलब लाइक हाउ मेनी लेयर्स आर कमिंग ऑफ वी ऑल नो दैट एंड एवरी एपिसोड इज ब्रिंगिंग लाइक द लेयर्स तो कोई करे या ना करे मतलब लाइक बट लोगों की ताकत बट अब जो ये है इमोशनल जो people like those who are gathering in the theater watching this and all but this has to go somewhere further because it should not be only emotions in the theater time bound and like if the because so I don't want to see any India files in future so what do you expect as like one of the victim because you're on a first hand like you lost your grandpa I'm just मैं आपसे बात कर रही हूँ but मैं अपनी आंखों से अपने नाना जी को देख रही हूँ जो आप बात कर रहे हैं मैं सच बोल रही हूँ आई एम नॉट लाइंग टू यू बिकॉज द बॉन्डिंग मेरे ग्रैंडफादर मुझे कहते थे अगर तुझको कोई लड़का पसंद है तो मुझे बता देना बिकॉज इनसे परवरा करने की जरूरत नहीं है चंचल अगर इसने पढ़ना है जितना पढ़ना चाहती है पढ़ने देना रोकना नहीं अगर नहीं पढ़ेगी तो फिर शादी कर देंगे सो दैट काइंड ऑफ नाना नाना एंड
Yeah,
धोती का रिश्ता
exactly.
सो आप बात कर रही हैं तो मैं वहां जा रही हूँ पहुंच रही हूँ तो मैं आपसे जानना चाहती हूँ ऑन द कंक्लूडिंग नोट व्हाट सपना वाली रैना वांट्स लाइक हाउ इट शुड बी
So one thing I definitely to begin with, I don't want this to be that all of a sudden kuch precipitate hua, halla kafi hua, khub shor hua, and 1 month down the road we are back to apni masti mein. It's all past. We want acknowledgement from the perpetrators what happened, what they did to us. They cannot keep denying कि हमने तो कुछ नहीं किया, right? And they say let's go towards whatever happened in the past. Let's go, healing start होनी चाहिए. But healing तभी start होगी जब acknowledgement होगा. Healing किसी चीज की तभी start होगी जब you know what caused that. we want that Kashmiri Pandits ke saath, Hindus ke saath jo hua, that should be. Why are we shying away from saying that it's a genocide? It is a genocide that was created. If you go pull up the definitions in UN and stuff, we fit in 3 out of 5 or 6 categories there. I think we've talked about that in the past, and we want that if we want to go back to our homeland, to our motherland, Kashmir, we go on our own terms. We go respectfully. We go without any fear, and you know, re-establish Hindus, give us our own due respect that we was snatched away from us, and stop being, you know. Abhi, if you see, I know this probably is not the closing sentence, but every time I hear in news ki we are spending so much in Kashmir and stuff, we are again Kashmir kar rahe hain. Can we get Kashmiri Hindus in the picture somewhere? We still have those camps out there. Would like something to happen, reestablish them. Social distancing in COVID, what did it mean for them? छोटे से कमरों में वो रह रहे हैं. So आपका ये सवाल कि what do I want to see going forward? I want this to continue. I want to make sure that my grandfather is given justice. Person who out and open in media accepted that this crime was committed by him. He's roaming out there free, and my grandfather has just become a number. There's no FIR, nothing, no police report, and there's no justice still. I mean, and we want to be able to go back to our homeland at our own terms, respectfully. And yes, government of India has to acknowledge that was a genocide. It has to come from our country first, and then globally, other countries are going to acknowledge that too. I don't know what else needs to happen for that to be, you know, accepted. But it's long overdue, 32 years and still counting. I just say justice delayed is justice denied, and we'll keep fighting. We want justice served, not only for my grandfather, for every single person, be it, Kashmiri Hindu, Sikh, any religion, a moderate Muslim, anybody who lost their lives to this senseless killing. I just want justice served for every single one of them.
Thank you so very much for your time. So we're going to say that Justice Ganju has a right to justice and his family. So thank you so much. I know we can really go on, and because 32 years of yours and beyond, so it should have to come, and it has to end now to see the end of the tunnel. And we pray peace prevails in your family. I know saying is simple, but I am also Kashmiri Hindu. I must say that.
Thank you
Namaskar.
so
Dhanyavad.
much.
Thank you.
Preview.